Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project. And that is Huck L. Berry. Yes, Huck. She is our executive producer. Chief of the world, in her mind. And she's liking things right now. It's pretty cold out here. It's been in the 30s. In the morning when we go out, it's in the 20s. She goes, yeah, Dad, I love it. And her fur is getting thicker and thicker and thicker. She's having some good times. And just to let you know, we're going to be coming up on the premiere of my latest movie, American Sasquatch. Man, Myth, or Monster. Got some swag in. Yes, some swag. That's the website that you go to. And on December 1st, the swag is going to be up for sale. Not right now. And we're also going to have Blu-rays and DVDs for sale of the movie. December 1st. We're excited about it. So I can tell you that we had a controlled group that watched the movie at an undisclosed location in the last 2 weeks. And the ratings were exceptionally high. So we've also had some people who aren't necessarily Bigfoot people watch it in the last week that wanted to interview me, and they came back and said, wow, Dave, we're blown away. We've never seen a Bigfoot movie quite like that. We loved it. So I'm pretty happy. Because these people in the past have been pretty critical of some things I've done. And I was ready for that, but they were polite, and I liked it. Oh, by the way, we'll also be selling the poster, and I sign every poster that goes out of here. So just to let you know. And again, if you want to be at the premiere, there's still time to get the tickets at missing411.com. And that is going to be November 28th in Tacoma, Washington at the Tacoma Convention Center. 2 types of tickets you can buy. You can buy one that just gets you in the door and a seat. And there's another one that'll get you into the special events section, and that is going to be fun. We have a lot of things planned. We have a lot of people from the movie that are going to be at the event. And they're my friends, so I feel blessed that they're going to be there. It'll be a really good time. I've been asked, I've already been interviewed a bunch about the movie, and they're going to release their interviews right around December 1st. And I'll tell you who they are at the time and where you can watch them. But it's amazing how many people, even informed people, believe that the work on the Bigfoot has something to do with the work on Missing 411. There's so many people lying out there about this and fabricating things that there's a big belief system that there is. And I haven't seen it, folks. Sorry. I would tell you, I'm not trying to hide anything, but if you read my books, if you watch my movies, you should see. Now, today, we're going to talk about a case that had a lot of publicity around the United States as one of the oldest missing person cases in the U.S. A complete and utter lie. They are lying to you and everybody else. It is a missing persons case. Interesting. The name of the man is Marvin Clark. Yes, Marvin, interesting guy, a really interesting guy to me. That's Marvin. He was reported to be 73 or 75 when he disappeared on October 30th, 1926. Now, if you followed me, you know 1926 isn't that old of a case because I have him into the 1800s. So why specifically is Wikipedia saying this is known as the oldest case of missing person in the United States? A complete lie. Now, he lived in Tigard, Oregon. He was 5'8", 170. And he was married with 4 grown kids. And he was the sheriff in a little town called Linton, Oregon. Kind of lay this out for you here so you understand the graphics of it. He lived down here in Tigard, Oregon. This is Portland. And this is Linton, where he was the sheriff. Now, from Tigard to Portland, it's only about 10 miles, not that far. And from Portland to Linton, it's really close. So he's in Tigard, and he's going to go visit his daughter, who's working right here. That's kind of how the story starts. He planned this trip to see his daughter over Halloween weekend. His wife didn't want to go, so he said he was going to go. Hadn't seen his daughter in a while, and she was the manager of what was called the Hereford Hotel. That was Mrs. Sidney McDougal. Pretty successful lady. At that time, there were not many women in management positions in the U.S., so she was smart. At about 1 p.m. on October 30th, he said goodbye to his wife, walked out the door wearing a suit and a tie and slacks. Some witnesses claim that they saw Marvin at bus stops in Portland. Okay. Some articles stated that he took a stagecoach to Portland. Now, that wasn't true either. He took what was then called something different from a bus. But he was supposed to be back on November 1st. And his wife hadn't heard from him since he left, and she hadn't heard from the daughter. So on November 1st, Mrs. Clark called their daughter to ensure that Marvin had left and was on the way back. The daughter said something surprising. She said that he never arrived. And the hotel that she was working was at a place called 735 Hoyt Street in Portland. Numerous articles stated that Marvin was a very well-known man in the area because he was a sheriff. Mrs. Clark confirmed for police that Marvin had a very small amount of cash on him, so robbery would not have been a motive. Now, the articles I found stated that he took what was called an auto stage. Now, at the time, I did some massive digging. Articles like this, Tigard man missing, and there was his photo. Now, in it said Mr. Clark left his home in Tigard Saturday at 1 o'clock, boarding a stage bound for Portland, presumably to visit his daughter. Article later on says, no, he took an auto. Said that police searched for him, etc. Said that the daughter understood he was going to visit. The man, this is important, the man is afflicted with paralysis on the right side and is said to have an unusual gait. Hair and mustache are gray, 5'8", 170 pounds. Now, why is the disability important? Well, if you follow Missing 411, you know that that's very common in these cases. Now, I should also say he's going to kind of the northwest area of Portland where the daughter was. Now, Portland, if you've been following my cases, you know that there's a lot of people who end up in the river around Portland. Nobody sees them go in. Nobody knows how they get in. But it's kind of like Missing 411, a sobering coincidence. Well, Mrs. Clark contacts the Portland police and Tigard police. And when you report a sheriff missing, you get a pretty good response. Well, they keep looking, and they're putting their heart and soul into it. And they get reports that some people saw him, claimed to see him at a bus stop in Portland, never confirmed. And as I've stated before, a lot of people make claims that you can never really back up. The police searched the regional hospitals and jails, couldn't find anything. And then within the last 25 years, there was an article written about this. And the people interviewed Pam Knowles, who is the great-great-granddaughter of Marvin. She said some interesting things. She said that her grandmother told her that Marvin was that sheriff in Linton, and she confirmed that he was a very, very interesting kind of person that was interested in a lot of different things. And that he had a very nice home in Tigard, kind of out away from the city. At the time, the family posted a $100 reward. Friends, at that time, $100 would be the moon. A huge number for 1926. The wife said that she got a postcard around November 9th. And the postcard was dated in Bellingham, Washington, far northwest Washington. And she said it was disjointed. Nobody really knew what that meant. And she never said what it said, so we can't have any idea what it meant. But the police went up and they found that there were others who claimed to have seen him sitting on bus benches in Bellingham. Again, never confirmed. We don't know if it was true or not. So, again, I want you to know the map. Linton is kind of in this area right here. Portland, Linton. It's almost like a neighborhood now, but it was a small city in northwest Portland, close to where Marvin's daughter worked, right here. And it was first plotted in 1843, and then in 1889 to 1925, it had its own post office, which was a big deal back then. It was incorporated on October 5th, 1910, and it was the headquarters for the West Oregon lumber mills. About 1.84 square miles in size. Today it has a population of 541 people. Now Tigard, that's an entirely different animal. Tigard is in Washington County, Oregon. Population about 54,000 today. In 2020, it was the 12th largest city in Oregon. It was originally established by Euro-Americans, and Native Americans settled the area as well in the early 1800s. It was eventually settled by the Tigard family. From 1907 to 1910, it had massive growth. And in 1910, the biggest thing that happened there was the electric railroad arrived. That was a big deal. That really put Tigard on the map. And it was about that time that Mr. Clark moved there with his family. Now, Portland was the largest city in Oregon, still is. They have a very established police department at the time, and when Marvin disappeared, they got the case. The first case I found of a missing person in North America that matched missing 411 was April 24th, 1856. And that's a case that matches missing 411. That is not the first missing person case. So what I'm really confused about is why is Wikipedia pushing this case as the first missing and oldest missing person case in North America? What a joke. It gets me mad. Now, between 1856 and 1925, I personally categorized 115 total cases, with 5 cases in Oregon. Now, during that time frame, the location with the most cases was Pennsylvania. And that was 17% of the total cases. No other state is even close to the 19 people that are missing during that time frame in Pennsylvania. Why would Pennsylvania have so many cases? I asked this in the Missing 411 Eastern book that I wrote, and nobody ever came back and really could explain it. And I really don't know why either. But I keep going back with why would Wikipedia place this case in there as the oldest case? Over the years, bodies have been found in that area where Marvin disappeared. Many believed it to be Marvin. There was one case in 1980 that showed some skeletal remains in that area where he vanished. And many people thought this was him because they found old coins from that time frame in the pocket. In fact, they interviewed a detective about it, and he said, I would have bet money that this was him. Eventually, they had recovered the remains, and they got DNA from his relatives, from Pam Knowles' relatives, and they were able to say that was not Marvin. And there was never a real confirmed sighting of Marvin during all these years anywhere. It was also never proven that the letter that the wife got was from him. So let's go through a few important points. Marvin had paralysis. Nobody could confuse this. His walk was unusual because his side was paralyzed and his arm was paralyzed. He had almost no money on him. They said he had less than $2. He had 4 kids and a wife that he loved. Robbery would not have been a motive. He wouldn't be able to travel far with what he had. He didn't have any other luggage or clothes. So what happened? Well, let's look at the same time frame. From 1856 to 1893, 2 Oregonians I wrote about went missing. One was a 3-year-old girl, and one was another child of an unknown age. And then from 1911 to 1920, 2 other Oregonians disappeared. In fact, a very famous one that I wrote about, called B.B. Bukowski. He was a very famous landscape photographer. Now, Bukowski lived in that area kind of near Crater Lake. And he liked to go up there and take photos of it during the summer. And he got so entranced by it that he decided to go up there during the winter months to see what the lake looked like. And he had a place to stay up there. Nobody else was up there. Now, just to remind you, the Native Americans didn't like going into that area because they believed that there was a monster that lived in the lake. Very famous story. Well, Bukowski didn't come back, and some other people went up there looking for him, trying to figure out what happened. And they found some of his photography equipment, but they didn't find him. And in fact, they found kind of an area he dug out under the snow where he was kind of staying and had cover. They found a lens of his on a small piece of wood on a house that is near the lake, but they never found him. They never found anything pointing to what happened. Very strange case. And it's a fascinating case because he was such a good photographer. If you Google him, you'll probably find some of the work that he did, some of his photos. There was also another 68-year-old person missing during that time frame. And then September 1925, again, this disappearance happened October 30th, 1926. A 50-year-old man vanished in Oregon that I wrote about. Now, why is this all important? It's to show you that I wasn't even going after total disappearances. These were only cases that I claimed were missing 411 cases, not just plain missing cases. I believe it would be much harder to disappear in 1926 than it would be today. With transportation the way it is, you could get out of the country in minutes. Transportation back in 1926, not so fast. So what happened? Well, that's the million-dollar question. Again, a pretty distinguished man. They said he had gray hair and a gray mustache. He said he was well-spoken, got along well with people. People in Tigard all knew him. Many people knew him in Portland. It's a bizarre story. Bizarre. But, I don't know. Now, when I was on the ship, I was approached by many people who said a lot of nice things about all of you who write your comments on the videos. And a lot of them said, Dave, do you know that the villagers are some of the nicest people we've ever seen comment on YouTube videos? And I said, I'm very fortunate. We have these people. But I also advised them that I don't think some of you know that I try to take down every rude comment I can find. Why? Because I don't want you to be susceptible to that, and I don't think anyone deserves it. And there's a lot of people in the world that get a kick out of getting others annoyed or antagonized. And that's really not what kindness is about. All of you out there support each other, and that is something I'm grateful of. When I read about somebody losing a relative or somebody losing an animal, I see a lot of you jump up and support them. And that is what kindness is about. We need more of this in our world. I know many of you live alone. Losing an animal is like losing a best friend, losing a relative. I get it. And as long as we can keep this kindness going, then I think we can help each other. And I know every once in a while, everyone needs a helping hand. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the kind comments. Really, really nice. And whatever you can, if you could post my videos on your social media, it would be grateful. And the cruise was fun. The people that attended were super nice. Thank you for being there. I hope to meet all of you at some time, which is why I do conferences. Puts me out there in the public. Come up, talk to me, ask me anything you want. If you have questions on a personal nature that you don't want to put in front of somebody, like videos, you can email me personally at missing411@yahoo.com. So, kindness, keep it up. It's free. And you know what? Maybe between you and me and the village out there, we can start a mass movement to kind of change the direction of our country. So there's a much better way to communicate and a much easier way to get along, because that doesn't hurt. Thanks for being here. Be kind. Paulides out.